I'd like to call the Delaware County Commissioners meeting to order. It's Monday, December 4th, 2017. Time is 9:03. If you could please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Steve, can you call the roll?
Mr. Henry.
Here.
Mr. Reagan.
Present.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Brooks. Here.
Move down to table business. Ordinance 2017-028, Delaware County Health Department Environmental Enforcement Fund.
I'd like to keep that on the table.
Okay. We'll go ahead and keep that table. We'll move to resolution number 2017-044. Resolution to assign tax sale certificate from Delaware County to the City of Muncie Redevelopment Commission. I'd like to go ahead and keep that one tabled also.
I agree.
Move to approval of minutes for November 20th, 2017.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to accept the minutes. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have a presentation to Commissioners, Muncie Land Bank, John West, Assistant Professor of Urban Planning, BSU.
Guess I'll stand here.
One of the podiums. Make sure the blue light's on too, sir.
It is. So my name is John West. I'm an assistant professor of urban planning at Ball State University. I work in the urban planning department. I want to thank you for the opportunity to talk about a project that I'm working on called the Muncie Land Bank. A land bank is an entity that acquires, maintains, and finds productive use for abandoned and blighted properties. Successful land banks do this through the cooperation of multiple units of government and with citizen participation. Land banks, if they are able to acquire and maintain property correctly, often have benefits in terms of improved property values in surrounding houses. Land banks can also, when housing is properly taken care of, have benefits in terms of the reduction of cost for fire and policing. I got involved in this project about a year ago, and it really is the culmination of a lot of work that I've been doing for about a decade. I grew up in a town very similar to Muncie, just outside of Pittsburgh, called Butler, Pennsylvania. It suffers from a lot of the same kinds of issues of property abandonment and the resulting issues of blight that follow. After I finished college, I found the profession of urban planning, and to me it seemed like a way to address the issues that I had grown up with, the issues that I cared about when it comes to cities and places falling into disrepair. I did a Master's of Urban Planning at University of Illinois, Chicago. I did a PhD in Urban Planning at Columbia University in New York. And the first job that I took after finishing my PhD was at Ball State. Ball State has turned out to be a fantastic fit, and the city of Muncie has been a welcoming home for me. And I am very enthusiastic about contributing to this community. I come to this project with very few preconceived notions about the city, about local units of government, and I am enthusiastic about legislation that's recently been passed through the State House and Senate and signed by the governor in 2016 that makes it easier to create a land bank that is publicly accountable. In the past, in other places in Indiana, we've had problems with land banks that were not being operated in a way that served the public. Senator Lannon passed some legislation in 2016 that requires that land banks be transparent and open to the public, and created a process for starting a land bank. I would like to invite the county commissioners and everybody in this room to help me think about how to do this work in the best possible way. This is a challenging problem. Property abandonment results from complex economic and social issues that are long-standing. And the process of dealing with abandoned properties is quite challenging for legal reasons, and also because the market is very weak for properties that have already been abandoned once. And so I would invite you all, and I would humbly ask for your help and support in making this project work. In addition to that, I'm putting on an event that students of mine in one of my urban planning classes have organized called 100 Stories and 100 Dreams. The idea of this project, and I can pass out flyers at the end here, the idea of this project is to get people in the city of Muncie to talk about properties that are currently abandoned and to tell the story of that property. What was there? Who lived there? What happened there? And then also to give an idea for how either that property or any other property in the community could be transformed and made better. And that event is going to be on December 7th at 5:30 p.m. It's part of the first Thursday events. It's in it's just outside the Guardian Brewery. With that, I guess I'm finished. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Well, John, Professor, we appreciate you coming today and sharing this news. What kind of a timeline, if we were to give you some properties, what kind of timeline are we looking at? I mean, it's not going to happen in 6 months, probably, or...
Are you asking about the timeline for starting the land bank or the timeline for...
Once you get established, properties being given to you, yes.
Once we get established, how long will it take to turn around a property? One of the cool things about land bank research is it shows that there are a variety of different things that a land bank can do. Sometimes a land bank acquires a property that can easily be fixed up just a little bit and then turned around and sold on the open market. And that makes sense. Someone walks away from a property because they couldn't afford the taxes. It's in a decent neighborhood. It doesn't require a whole lot of maintenance, and you can turn it over relatively quickly. On the other hand, there are some properties that tend to linger, especially in areas where the property market is weaker. And so the first step of creating a strategy or a plan for the land bank is to identify different kinds of properties and to think about different strategies for taking care of them and eventually getting rid of them. I know that one of the strengths of the state legislation is that it makes the process of disposing of property quite a bit easier. It used to be that local units of government that were taking care of abandoned property, like the city, for example, had to do, 2 audits, or excuse me, 2 appraisals, run legal notice to offer the property publicly, and receive several appraisals. And the average time period that took was 3 to 4 months and cost approximately $600 per property. With the new Indiana state legislation, that the process we're estimating will take about 2 months whenever there's a purchaser, and the cost is much less, just marketing the property.
You have property that needs to be demolished, who will pay for that?
The land bank does not have a set of policies and procedures yet. We are not fully established. I'm coming to this body to ask support in answering questions like that.
Will it be through grants, foundations? Is that where you guys will collect your money to do demolitions?
So funding is the biggest issue with the state legislation that's been passed. In states like Ohio and Michigan, they have guaranteed funding for land banks, but Indiana doesn't have such a thing. My understanding is that we might be able to generate support from the city for some costs. The foundations have expressed interest in supporting the land bank insofar as that money will go towards activities that expand its capacity. I don't believe that the foundation community is going to be willing to pay for the operations of the land bank. And so one of the challenges that we need to figure out, I need to figure out, is where the money for demolitions would come from. But yeah, okay.
And you stated about some properties to be fixed up and sold, so just say you ended up with a property, where would the money go when you sell this property?
Where would the money from the
Go back
property?
into the foundation to help.
The money. So this is if we're able to make money on a property, that's going to cross subsidize us to take care of other properties that there's not a market for those properties. So like in Indianapolis, their land bank Renew generates most of its funding by selling properties, and then using the money from those sales to take care of properties where there's not a market. I'm not convinced that Muncie is in the same state in terms of being able to generate profit from properties. So that I think that's one of the challenges.
And I believe you said one of your appointments would be the treasurer of Delaware County would have an appointment.
This is in state law. Yeah.
I think it sounds like a good idea. I would like to see your operating procedures once you get those written, and like to see how you're going to move forward.
Great. Would it be possible to speak with you further to give some ideas about how we can do this successfully?
Yeah, sure.
Great. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to ordinances for second reading. Ordinance number 2017-030, ordinance amending Title V of Delaware County Code of Ordinances.
I'd like to table this, but I still have concerns about the roads coming into the city.
Is that a motion to table it?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I've heard a lot of good things, and this is about the ATVs and the golf carts on the county roads. I'm in favor of that out in the county. I just have issues with the urban roads leading into the city, clogging traffic and people getting behind a slow-moving vehicle and being reckless.
Motion dies in a second.
I'll make a motion we adopt the ordinance 2017-030.
I'll second it. Have any discussion on it? Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry,
Yes.
Ms. Reagan,
No.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we have ordinance number 2017-031, ordinance to repeal Delaware County Ordinance 98-007A and Ordinance 98-007A1.
Good morning. The ordinance in question here is the tattoo ordinance revision that we presented at the last meeting. Here for any questions you may have.
Would you explain again what this ordinance is, Jamie?
Yeah, this is our ordinance that regulates tattoo parlors and piercing facilities within Delaware County. Our previous ordinance was, I think it's going on almost 19 years old. It was one of the first ordinances in the state of Indiana. Made a lot of revisions to it to try to make it a little more modern with what's going on nowadays. It's closely modeled after Allen County's ordinance. It does a better job of defining a lot of the things that previously were left vague or were implemented as simply a policy of our department.
I'll make a motion we adopt ordinance 2017-031.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Jamie.
you. Next, we have ordinance for first read, ordinance number 2017-034. An ordinance amending ordinance 2011-001A and 2009-09A concerning the Delaware County Fair Board and operation as part of the county government. Don out in the hall.
Do you have a question? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Okay, all we're doing is cleaning up the ordinance to mention that the employee in question is the office manager, so we can get her back on the insurance. I don't know why she went off like 3 years ago because the ordinance said she was a county employee, but for some reason, at that time, the commissioners took her off of the county insurance. We're really struggling to get insurance for her. She loses her insurance again December 31st because she's on a plan that now they will only insure group policy people. And our next step is to put her on what's the Obamacare stuff, which is really going to cost us a
And you
lot of
asked that
money.
the rules be suspended in this today because it will actually cost more money if we
Right,
don't
and
do it today.
I need for you to suspend the rules because we have to know before December the 15th if this is gonna pass. Because that's the last day for enrollment if we try to find her something else.
Okay.
So we're kind of desperate.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2017-034.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
I'll make a motion we suspend the rules.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
I'll make a motion we adopt ordinance 2017-034.
Second.
Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Ms. Reagan.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Next, we have resolution number 2017-046, resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Delaware County, Indiana, adopting the provision of IC 523.
This is a resolution for the Commissioners' consideration. I attended a seminar and some workshops on municipal law, and the legislature a few years ago adopted a design-build requirement or a design-build option for municipalities to, when they're building things like bridges and roads and that sort of thing. And I thought this would be a good tool for the commissioners. It doesn't obligate you to do any of this stuff. It just is something to put in your toolbox. You can't use this unless you adopt this resolution. So the commissioners can use this with their, for example, I'm going to use a bridge. You can build a bridge that you can get several different designs and decide which one is the best for your purpose. It also helps keep the costs down because you know what the costs are for design and build, and it manages the costs that way, in that manner. So I thought this would be a good tool for the commissioners to have when looking at a public works project.
I agree with you, Joe.
I'll make a motion we adopt resolution 2017-046.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for adoption. Steve, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, we'll move to department heads and elected officials. Anybody have anything for us today? If not, we'll move down to monthly and weekly reports. Everybody got the report from Major Majors? Yes. Move to the payment of claims in the amount of $2,337,407.38.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for payment of claims. Steve, can you call the roll?
Ms. Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes. Next, do we have any questions, any comments from the public? Mr. Kraus?
Larry Crouch, 8500 West Long Beach in the Westbrook section of Yorktown, but it's a Muncie address. I was here about a year ago and brought to the attention of the commissioners that there was $1.7 million missing of revenue in the Westbrook addition, payable to the regional wastewater. And at that time, I think there is an independent audit going on of this government entity. And then I was reading some of the comments and the minutes that your attorney, John Brook, had put in there, that the former attorney of the wastewater continued to draw double payments for the time that when they were meeting twice a month, and they reduced that to once a month, and I don't know how long ago that was. Do you, John? Mr. Brook?
They stopped at having 2 meetings a month in 2015.
Okay, so is there any way we can get some of that money back?
That would be up to the regional wastewater board to do that.
Okay, well,
Because it was their money that was spent.
yeah. I know he's filed for more money, but I think that honey hole is dried up. So anyway, I want to talk about one more thing. I had a conversation with one of the supervisors at the Muncie Sanitary. Now, I know they're under investigation by the FBI, but Tanglewood has always been stuck in my craw about them having to pay the same as Rorton. And I asked him if he thought that they could, if they took that over, they could reduce the amount of money that they pay. Now, I was on the board when we okayed that, and we were sold a bill of goods. The board was really sold a bill of goods about that being in the same township, the kids all went to the same school, and so they should pay the same as Rorton. Well, they tried to do the same thing with DeSoto, and that was stopped. But anyway, I appreciate the audit going on of this agency, and hopefully we can find some of that $1.7 million. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ma'am?
Hi, I'm Janet Devens, and I live out on 807.
Is the blue light on or?
Yes.
Okay.
And this is my husband's and I's first meeting, and we didn't realize, all these ordinances and everything. And we came up here just in the support for the ATV part. Did that get passed? I
Yes.
think it's just flying.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did.
Okay, and where would we find the ordinance at?
Well, John, you want to fill them in on some of the rules?
I'll give you a copy of, my copy of it. This has to be published in the newspaper before it becomes effective, and it'll become effective 10 days after publication, and then it'll be put on the county's website.
Okay, so after publication in the
Yeah.
newspaper, 10 days later,
Yes.
it's legal.
And it's like licensed drivers, lights and
Right,
tail lights, headlights,
right. Okay then, thank you.
Thank you. No one else, I'll entertain a motion to recess.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second, everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Recess.